14th, 2016. Mark, would you like to
Sure.
lead us in prayer?
Is there anybody out there who'd like to say a prayer this evening? Okay, let's bow our heads. Lord, on behalf of all of us who gather here today, thank you for your many blessings you have bestowed upon us and our community. Thank you for your ability to be involved in useful work and for honoring and bearing this responsibility. Give us the courage, the determination, and the compassion to govern the conflicting interests and issues of our times. Give us the confidence to know what is good and fitting for our community. Give us the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is honest disagreement. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live, work in and around our wonderful city of North Canton. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to amend the agenda to include a special visitor?
So moved.
Second.
Santa.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Our special visitor tonight is Mr. Brock Eastman, and I'll turn it over to Law Director Fox. He will enlighten us.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we all know, last Friday was Veterans Day, and our local Chamber of Commerce, along with the North Canton schools and the city, had a ceremony in Bitzer Park at our memorial. And as part of the ceremony, this new program, they had 5 students from North Canton schools, and all of those students were assigned an essay to write about Veterans Day. And the top 5 students read their essays at the ceremony at the memorial. And young Brock Eastman, an 8th grader there, I think just did a tremendous job. It's a really compelling essay. It's timely on a subject that we see currently in our headlines, but it was right on point with the subject that also honored veterans. And so after the ceremony, I spoke with his parents and Brock and asked if he would be kind enough to share his essay at one of our council meetings, and indeed he agreed. And so if you permit, Brock, if you'd come to the podium and read your essay, please.
Welcome, Brock.
All right, Rob.
The America I believe in. Oh, say can you see? The music starts playing as 50,000 people in the stadium stand, facing the flag with their hats off and their hands placed firmly over their hearts, singing our country's national anthem. The American flag represents all of us and all of the values we hold sacred. America is the greatest country on earth due to the freedom and loyalty we all possess. In America, people honor and celebrate freedom every 4th of July and honor those lost on Veterans Day. But recently, at stadiums all over our great country, people have refused to stand for the national anthem. Ironically, that is one of the greatest aspects of America. Those people do not have to worry about being punished or killed for their disrespectful actions. Those individuals who choose to sit have every right to sit, because America grants each and every one of those individuals their freedoms to do so. However, you will never see me or my family sitting during the national anthem. You will see me standing proudly for the country that I hold so dear to my heart. American citizens should honor those people who have given up their lives for us, not stay seated during their moments of honor. It's unacceptable that anyone can turn his or her back on America when America would never turn its back on us. Freedom is not overcoming what you think stands in your way. It is understanding that what is in your way is part of the way. Americans get to go to bed every night and wake up without the fear of being attacked or killed thanks to the armed forces protecting us and our families. In America, we can go to church every Sunday morning and worship any God we choose without worrying if the government will intervene or punish us for our beliefs. Our founding fathers have granted us these freedoms. Freedom is everything, and we should remember all the people who have given up their lives for us. Next time you go to a sporting event, think about the people who allowed you to do so. Think about the struggles America had to endure to allow us to be able to live the way we live today. The America I believe in is one I am proud to call my home, the home of the brave.
That was impressive.
That was awesome.
Very nice. Good job.
Yeah, that made me get goosebumps, so you know you did good.
Did you write that all by yourself? Can you come over to my house? I have some kids who are college graduates that you could be really helpful for. I'm going to tell them about you tonight. Great job.
Outstanding. Thank you for coming tonight, Brock and Sherry, and I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Good luck in DC as well.
Right?
Ken, thank you for bringing him up.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
great.
that was powerful.
And there were 4 others that did it as well?
4 others. He appeared by far to be the youngest of those, and I was just struck at just how well he's done putting that together on a timely subject where he still honored those that spoke out in their own way and still honored the veterans as well.
And we'd also like to welcome the Weeblo Pack 1 of Zion Lutheran. 4th and 5th graders. Welcome, gentlemen. Lady. Okay, at this time, we have a presentation by our Finance Director, Ms. Brown, on the 2017 draft budget.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, as this is my first budget year here with the city, I decided I would do a little overview presentation for you. Next year, we can do something totally different if you want, but this was just my first attempt. The clerk was nice enough to print copies for you, and she's also getting it up on the screen for us here momentarily. And like I said, this is basically just an overview so that you have kind of the big picture on the budget, and then we'll dig into the detail as we go along. Television is thinking. All right, there we go. All right, can we go to the first slide, please, ma'am? All right, as you see our bucket of money here, just a little disclaimer before we get started. According to Ohio law, the city has to keep its money in many different funds according to what the money is to be used for. We have about 26 funds we're running right now in the budget. But for this presentation, some of those funds have been rolled together. And again, this is just to give you the big picture, so just kind of keep that in mind. Revenue overview. Income tax for 2017, I'm forecasting at about a 2.7 increase over 15. Now, why am I comparing to 15? 2 reasons. One is 16 is not done yet, so we don't have a full year of data. The other is 16 was the transition year to using RETA, the Regional Income Tax Agency. So the data isn't apples to apples. The timing with RETA is very different than when we were self-collecting. So as that smooths out over time, we'll have better data. But right now, it was more helpful to look back at 15. But we do seem to be on an upward trend. Our largest revenues of the city, of course, is income tax. We're going to come back to that in a moment. Property tax is the second most. It's at about a 2% increase. Oh, can we go back one, please? Over last year. That's according to the county auditor's estimates, increasing values. Third most revenue for governmental funds is intergovernmental revenue. That includes your things like homestead rollback, gas tax, things like that. That's slightly ahead, predicted to be over 16, again, due to a little bit of rising property values. And then our last category we show there is fees. You see those are down slightly from 16, and that's due to uncertainty with the golf course, since that has not been coming in on pace. So I wanted to be conservative there. Now, if we go back to that first column there of income tax, you can see the yellow line for 17 being a little bit bigger than 16. And that 16 number is the amount that was transferred to the funds, to general and to capital out of income tax, not necessarily what came in the door. And then for 17, again, this is what we're predicting to transfer to the two funds, which is slightly more than the year prior. Okay, if we can go to the next. And again, this is about income tax. In 2016, the split was about 80-20. So 80% of the revenue was transferred to general fund, that's the green. 20%, or the blue, was to capital funds. For 17, because the ordinance changed last year, we're now at a straight 70-30 split. So 70% to general, 30% to capital. The main difference here, though, is in the past years, a lot of the capital expenditures were housed outside the capital improvement fund. So we would pay for projects out of the street fund, out of the storm sewer improvement levy fund, the street levy fund. What I've tried to do in the 17 budget is get all the major capital projects for governmental, obviously not the water and sewer, but the major street, storm sewer, those type of things in that capital improvement 330 fund. I think that's better for tracking, makes it easier to understand, and then each year in the budget, you can decide, is that 70-30 split appropriate, and is that enough to cover the city's capital needs? Go on. Moving into the expenditure side or appropriation side, you see some assumptions here. Council, you have a more detailed list of assumptions, but basically what we did is we went through all the employees of the city, we scheduled each one out. What do they make? What are the benefits they're entitled to? And then we added that all up by fund and department. Any pay raises that employees are entitled to, such as things in collective bargaining, have been included. And the benefits to go along with that, so the pension, Medicare, things like that. Our other expenditures, such as supplies and contracted services, are based on two things. One is departmental requests, and when you look in the detailed budget, that'd be the green numbers for 2017, and that's based on department meetings that Mike and I had with all the department heads, and they submitted their requests to us. And then any of the purple numbers you see in the budget are things that finance calculated. So things like utilities, kind of more fixed costs, we went ahead and calculated those. And then our capital projects estimates, where a lot of our dollars lie, were primarily estimated by the city engineer as he looked at the projects for next year. Okay. Here's kind of a breakdown of where we spend money. And again, this is our governmental, our tax-supported funds, and our utility funds on this slide. So our biggest area is operating costs, and that includes things like utilities, supplies. It also includes some of our contracted costs. So like if we're paying a contractor to do a street or something like that. Second largest is personnel, followed by capital, and then debt service being the fourth largest. You can see for the majority of these areas, the yellow line is smaller, so 17 is predicted to be lower than 16 was. There's a variety of reasons for that, which we'll get into when we get into the detail of the budget later on. But you see capital is much larger, and that's basically just because we have fully loaded this budget. Every project that the engineer came up with is here. We can obviously back off from that as we go through the process. Next, please. This slide just shows you appropriations by department. So again, this is our governmental funds. This doesn't include our utilities. Just so you can get an idea of where the city spends its money. Our largest department is police at just over 30%, followed by fire at just over 20%, and then it goes down from there. A few of the smaller ones I grouped together, like law, council, and civil service. I kind of rolled those to make it easier to see. But this just kind of gives you an idea of where the money goes. And then looking a little deeper into the general fund, again, police being the largest in general fund, followed by our transfers out. If you look at that far right, the transfers out, again, that's where you can see that in prior years, more income tax dollars went to general fund when we had that 80-20 split, but then they were transferred right back out to funds like street and storm sewer to do those projects. So this year we're trying to keep everything in capital, make it more streamlined.
What's the other stand for, just roughly?
The other, there's things in there like street lighting, what we pay the health department, a variety of kind of things that didn't fit in a department. It's a good question. This gives you a breakdown of your capital appropriations. So again, those things in that capital improvement fund, that 30% of income tax are going towards as it stands currently in the draft budget. So again, these are all the projects that Mr. Benitez could come up with in his dream scenario.
We need an infrastructure.
So you can see the bulk of it at about 2.6 million is streets, followed by storm sewer at just under $1 million, and then we go down from there. And again, police, you see that at $500,000, but some of those things would have been in general fund in past years. So we're trying to get everything capital, all those, vehicles, projects, things into that capital fund, keep them all together. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight is we do have a number of reserves here in the city. We have 4 funds where we hold a reserve. The first being our compensated absence fund, where we hold money for retiring employees. The second being indoor firearms training, where we had a 5-year plan to save up money to possibly upgrade the firearms range that's right under my office. I can hear them shooting some days. The insurance fund, where we put...
Wait till after the budget is done.
Well, yeah. The insurance, I made everybody breakfast a couple weeks ago to try to soften the budget blow. The insurance fund, where we hold the employee and city contributions towards healthcare. We talked about that self-insurance program at last meeting. That's where we hold those excess funds in reserve. And then finally, the CIC escrow fund, which was a 15-year plan to fund the CIC. That's in 2017's budget. 2018 will be the last year of that plan, and then it will be fully funded.
Also, Mark, do you mind commenting a little bit further on the compensated absences?
Sure.
Like explaining what that is and how a lot of cities get into trouble with that?
Sure.
How we're in a good spot?
We're in a very good spot with compensated absences. What the city did is set up that fund, and every year you've been putting money aside. And then when someone retires, we pay their severance, which can be quite large for some folks that have been here a long time, out of that fund. It kind of protects you that if you have somebody all of a sudden come and say, oh, I'm going to retire next week, it's not this big shock. And the mayor did mention we are in a very good position. When I took a look at what our total compensated absences liability was in last year's audit report, it was about 1.49 million. When I take a look at what we have in that fund, it's 1.49 million. So, and me personally, I haven't worked with many cities that have been fully reserved on that. So that's great. That's a testament to the hard work that's gone on over the years. So that's really nice to see.
And I think I'd also ask you to comment on the capital expenditure piece. Obviously, we're carving away 30% of the revenue that comes in and putting it specifically towards infrastructure needs in the city and other big things like that. And as you'll see in the budget, it's actually less toys this year and more actual infrastructure.
It is.
So, but talk about how we rate relative to our peers in that respect.
Again, North Canton's ahead of many cities that I work with. Now, keep in mind, I did work with a lot of cities in financial trouble, so there is that comparison. But even those that I worked on, financial statements and things that were our good cities, 70-30 is a very healthy split for capital. Other than the presentation, you do have the packet that I put on the desk in front of you. That's got the more detailed assumptions. That's the first 2 pages. Then it's got the 2017 summary. So basically, if you take what I've estimated for revenues, you take what's in the budget currently, where would we end up at the end of 17? That's what that's showing you for each fund. Next page is the 2016 summary, and I just included this because this is my estimate for the remainder of the year to get to that 17 beginning balance. And then following that, you have the actual detailed appropriations, and this should look similar to what you've seen in past years as far as the ordinance itself. You've got all the detail in there. So I wanted you to have that so that everybody had a chance to look at it, and then if you have questions, obviously anytime, let me know, and then if you want to talk more with department heads or things like that, you'll have that opportunity.
We had our discussion, I mentioned, were that in years past, we've chosen one evening where we've asked the department heads to come forward, we've gone line by line. And obviously giving people the opportunity to look at it even further in advance is helpful. Laura's done a great, I can't overstate how fantastic Laura has done with this. When she first came on, I said, I really think that the way to begin this process is by doing some general assumptions. And this is way more than I even anticipated or could have dreamed of, so I appreciate it. I know I'm getting very excited about numbers, but I was very excited. So I think that's helpful too. But the other thing that's helpful, as you look through the budget itself, what you see is that you've segregated basically the wiggle room and the non-wiggle room numbers.
From the budgeted request?
Yeah, the purple numbers in the 2017 request are essentially the numbers that are what they are. Those are calculations that you've done there.
Okay, those
There
don't
is
change.
not room for movement.
Okay.
And then the ones that are in green are those which we would have an opportunity to adjust to. So again, I think that'll help inform our discussion as we
Yeah.
move forward. So, obviously we don't have to do this, but if we want to, and I think we do, in early December, we would have a budget meeting specifically, where we would have some hearings and go line by line. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
To have the department heads come in.
Right. And then move through the process. And then everyone will have a couple weeks to digest things. And I know Mike did a great job of getting everybody in, as Laura mentioned before, which I also deeply appreciate, so. And it sounds like everybody was pretty reasonable, which is also helpful.
And everybody, took it very seriously, very thoughtful in what they, put in for their department, and
Yeah, that was my question,
I
because you
appreciate
mentioned
it.
wish list. There's a difference between a wish list and a need list.
right.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to hear. Yeah, look at me over there. So that was going to be my biggest question right there, with that list, what you meant by that, so.
Well, as far as the individual departments, like I said, they were very thoughtful about what they did, and I went back through, before we met with them, because they submitted things to me by email, before we sat down at our meetings, I went through and looked at it, and if there was something that was way out of line from the prior year, or just looked funny to me, I kind of marked it, and when they came in and sat with Mike and I'd ask them, but there weren't very many of those. Everything was pretty well in line. I can't speak to all the projects, that's more of our engineers department, but there's a long list of projects this year, but I think you've put a lot of work into coming up with those, so.
What I typically do is throughout the year, as the different department heads or council person says they would like to see this done or that done, I just put them on a list. And then when it gets to this time of year, I put a number to the project, what I think that project's going to take. We'll give that to Laura this year. And we just see if there's enough money to fund it. It's not projects that I necessarily want to do. If we don't do projects, I'm happy because I'm less busy. But that's not me. I just like getting things done. I think you know that. So as we go through the budget and you see all these projects listed, we might have to make a choice. Do we keep all of these or we whittle a couple down? We already did whittle a few down out of the water fund. We were over the revenues, so I looked at those and discussed with the department which ones were the lower priorities. So we took them out. We put them on the list for next year. We'll designate those to design those this year to be ready to bid out early in 18, so we'll get good prices for those. We do have some projects getting ready now for early bidding in 17. So, but as we go through this process, my feelings won't be hurt if you cut any projects, trust me. But
So Jim, like that one project that we had talked about with the curbs, would that be on here, or we didn't even get that far?
we didn't get that far on that one. Yeah, that was very low on the priority and all the needs that were out
Your
there.
priority list.
One final thing I'd mention on the projects is if you go back to page 35 of the detail, if you see a couple projects down at the bottom left-hand corner in a dark box, the fixed base meter and the Tower 3 construction, those two are not in the current budget because they are so large. I put them there for information, so that's something that if we were looking to do those projects, either something else would have to come out for water fund to have enough money, or perhaps we would have to look to finance those one or both of those projects. but I put them there for informational purposes.
I'm all for having the people come up and give their case on each one too, so we can talk to them. So more so we can understand rather than,
Right.
okay, what the heck do they want to buy? You know, we need to know that. I think that's very important. I think the last couple times we did it, it gave all of us a reassurance of the needs, you know, based on wants and needs and things.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
I know that it's very, very important to keep our foundation under our roads in good shape, so I think I'm really pleased with what I'm seeing happen now with the catch basins, which I'll give the reports at the end.
Okay, all right, good, very good. Laura, thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Very nice.
Okay, next up, we have a presentation by Mr. Stephen Christen, AT&T, an update regarding the Stark County Broadband Task Team's recommendation.
Yes, thank you. I've got some handouts for you, and I told Mary Beth that'd be about 3 minutes, so I'll do that, and then we have some time for questions and answers. But first of all, I want to applaud you for your efforts to improve the community. I know you guys have passed an informal resolution in support of that. I want to give you a couple of thoughts, though, on the opposite side. When you look at the whole idea of the government funding a network to compete against existing networks in the private sector, it doesn't make sense from our perspective. You can look at, and I've got some handouts for you, you can look at Chattanooga. They got $100 and some million federal funding. It cost them another 280 to build that million. You can look at Groton, Connecticut. They're losing $2 million a year. You can look as close as Medina. What I would suggest to you, and I can come back and give you more detail, but when you look at what the private sector is investing, it doesn't make sense that you need to have taxpayer dollars invested in a network to compete against it. From an AT&T perspective, we're typically the largest capital investor in the country, anywhere from 20 to 22 billion a year. In the last 3 years alone, just in Ohio, we've spent $1.5 billion. In the last 6 months, I have a news release I'll give to Mary Beth to pass out. We've had 25 enhancements alone in our wireless network in Stark County. When you look at where the whole technology field is going, 3 years ago, the Stark County Broadband Task Force started their study. Well, in those 3 years, I sat down and looked at what we were doing around the country. We bought DirecTV. We enhanced our fiber. We've got nearly 500,000 miles of fiber in the United States. We went ahead and developed unlimited wireless plans. We have our GigaPower product, which we rolled out in August in Cleveland and in Columbus. In that announcement, we mentioned we were coming to Stark County sometime soon. We have, when we packaged DirecTV. We now have the ability to watch TV on your mobile phone without incurring any data charges. We have DirecTV Now coming out later this month, which is streaming, and it's going to be unlimited watching, 100 stations for $35. You look ahead, we've recently announced we want to buy Time Warner, and the reason for that is Time Warner, not the Time Warner cable, but the Time Warner that owns HBO, Cinemax, CNN, True TV, and so forth. And the whole idea there is what we call vertical integration. And I say this because I think it's important when you look at where technology is going, that it's moving so fast that you want to make sure you're investing in the right areas and not get left behind. So from that standpoint, we're already talking about 5G. If you look around, you see cell towers. That's my 3 minutes, so I'll speak faster. But when you look at cell towers, those
Technology.
yes, it is. How about that?
That's an AT&T phone.
Yes, it is an AT&T phone. Yes. But when you look around, you've got cell towers. Those are called macro cells. On the other end, you've got what we call Wi-Fi. You guys are familiar with Wi-Fi. In between, we have what we call distributed antenna systems. If you go to Cleveland Brown Stadium, we got 485 little towers, mini towers around, so you get a nice experience. There's another thing now, new technology called small cell technology. It's basically taking what we look at to be a cell tower, and you put it on the side of a building, on a pole. But the intent is to improve the service in a more limited area. What I mean by that is if we have a cell tower north of town and we have one south of town, does it make sense to put another tower in the middle of downtown? Maybe not. So we have this whole thing called network densification. But the idea is it's improving the cell coverage in an area where you have a lot of people. It's called small cell technology. Only reason I bring that up is because that's a huge area and you need that for 5G. And we're already looking at 5G. So the point is, in all this, if you're looking at using taxpayer dollars to fund a network to compete against the private sector who is already investing in technology, you might want to rethink that, because that may not be the best use of dollars.
Right.
With that in mind, I've got some handouts here that I'll give to Mary Beth, but I've got a handout, a release of our 25 wireless upgrades that we did in the county since January. I've got a copy of the op-ed that was in the repository back in October 20th, talking at an opposing view. It's a totally different Time Warner. And we are, because it's all about vertical integration. People want to watch what they want, when they want, wherever they want. And we're finding that if we can buy DirecTV and then buy content, we can then get better pricing and better packaging
That's
for
what
it.
we're looking for, better pricing.
Yes.
Mine's like over 300 a month for all the stuff I
Really?
get.
Well, talk to me afterwards. And then I also have a little thing here about the 5G with the microcells and the small cells and how all that works. Plus, I got my business card. So with that, I think I have a minute for Q&A.
Can I
Is that right?
have a question?
Yeah,
No surprise. But can I ask about your, the technology that exists here?
Yes.
As I understand it, there's fiber optics to kind of a centralized point in the neighborhood. In our area, is that true? Do you have fiber optics running? And then from that point, it's copper from the main cell into each of our homes. Is that the way that it's set up right now?
The short answer is yes. We have fiber running. In some cases, there are businesses downtown that have fiber running to it. So in some cases, we have fiber running straight to the business. In other cases, and that's a lot of times now, right, we're talking more residents, we have fiber going to a neighborhood, and then from the neighborhood using copper. But when you look at that gigapower technology, we call gigapower service, don't get misled by the fact it's copper at the last piece, because you're still with gigapower, you're starting at 300 meg speeds. Eventually, it's called gigapower because eventually you're going to get to 1 gig speeds. So it's amazing what they're doing with technology now. We're moving fiber to the neighborhood, but we're also still utilizing the copper. Yes.
So do you have any plans to adjust that part of the process?
In terms of
To do any hard wiring into homes with
yes.
with spliced technology all the way?
Yes, but we don't feel we need to have fiber all to the homes right now, because we've got the technology. We're running gigapower 300 meg speeds without running fiber to the home. The other thing to keep in mind is with 5G, we're getting faster and faster and faster on wireless. You know, you can have a 5 meg connection at home and you can watch Netflix and have a very good experience. With LTE, 4G LTE, you can get 15, 16, 18 meg speeds, maybe higher on your wireless device, and you can do everything you want to do from your home on a wireless device. You know, so don't get too hung up on the speeds. I know some people promote fast speeds. In some cases, you need it. The thing is, you're looking at, when you look at the new advanced technologies, such as cloud computing, everybody talks about cloud computing. When we used to buy technology, we would look at how fast the download speed is, because all that data is coming down to me. And the upload speed really didn't matter, because all I do is hit a button, it's going yes or no. But cloud now, we're moving data up and down. To do that, I need fast download speeds and fast upload speeds. And that's where the new technology is coming in, yes. So, yes?
When are your plans to get that here?
You know what,
Because if you had it here, we wouldn't be talking about it.
I know.
You know what I mean? That's,
Here's the challenge
we're
I
at the mercy.
Yes, here's the challenge I had. We rolled it out in parts of Cleveland, and at that announcement, we said we're coming to Canton in Stark County. For competitive reasons, I can't give you exact date. It's coming, you know, but I can't give you the exact date. When I know more, and I'll be more happy to tell you when I can. But you know, the thing is, it's not necessarily just that, because when you look at 5G with the small cell technology, the 5G is coming all over. You know, so you're going to be able to have fast internet speeds on your wireless device. That's part of the network that we're building right now.
But in this community here, we're trying to draw businesses in. And the new businesses of tomorrow want the fastest, the quickest, the top thing. So we need that here. And that's kind of that's the whole idea. When are we going to get it? If we can't get it, we'll find a way to get it. And that's the whole talking about. That's what we're talking about.
See, I would push back a little bit on that concept, thinking it's not available now, because it is. The challenge is there's been maybe a mischaracterization of availability for businesses of fiber. We have fiber. We have fiber right across the street, here in North Canton. So if you look at that, there's a misnomer out there that there's no fiber. One of the challenges I think you'll hear is that maybe the pricing isn't where they want it to be. Price is always an issue, no matter what people say. What I would say to that, though, is the best way to get competitive pricing is to have competition. If you only have one competitor, your pricing is going to be different than if you have 2, 3, or 4. And we have competitors in this marketplace now. The idea, too, is you want to create policy that encourages investment, both at the federal level and the state level, and that then trickles down to the municipal level. Because I only have limited resources, as we all do with our personal finances, but on the business side, I can invest $1.6 million a day in Ohio, and if North Canton is friendly to that money, and they want to get, say, small cell technology, it'll more likely come here than somewhere else. It's just money flows where it's most welcome. So that's through public policy.
Question. When you're talking about the fiber optic, that still is like the state of the art to transmit data and information, right? That's presently the best that we have.
I would say, yeah. I would answer that with a yes. Keep in mind without getting too technical, Mayor, and we can get offline. I'd be more happy to. I've got. You want PowerPoints? I got PowerPoints.
But so you're saying like with the fiber optic,
Yes.
There's no doubt that's the best way to transmit the data and information.
Yes.
The quickest, but that you can't. Obviously you got to lay a line, so you may not be able to go to every single home. But now you've got new technology, the 4th or the 5th generation.
Yes.
What do we call 5th generation? What is it? Towers or?
Well, it's incorporating towers in some of these small cells. But think of it this way: when you look at fiber, all fiber is glass, and you're running light through the glass.
And it is a line, like a telephone line.
It's actually like it's a glass tube, and they're real thin tubes. They're typically 12 strands, 24 strands, and they're so thin that you can't, if you were to get a splinter, you can't pull it out of your finger. You got to kind of dig the whole thing out because it's so thin. And what we're doing, we're running protons through there. The old days with electrons, with Alexander Graham Bell, running protons. Now what changes here to make it faster and more compact is you change the electronics on both ends. Sort of like the idea, if you remember, you had a CD, then we had Blu-ray. The CD was a red light, Blu-ray is a blue light, and DVD. By changing the spectrum, take the technology. You guys have technology badges, or not? But by changing that, you can get more data through there, and the more data you get through there, the faster throughput.
Okay, so you're saying that even though we don't have, so there's fiber, you're saying, across the street, but that's more interdepartmental, correct? It's not like we have fiber, like we have fiber optic going from City Hall, you're right, to our fire department. So when we're transmitting information down Main Street, it works incredibly fast, right? But that's not, we don't have the fiber optic coming from outside of the city into the city.
Oh, no, just the opposite. Just the opposite. You've got, with the 500,000 miles of fiber all, just AT&T alone, I mean, we've got the central office down the street on Main Street, about a mile from here. That has fiber. All our central offices have fiber to them. A lot of business, there's a business for competitive and proprietary reasons. I can't tell you which one, but there is a business, a private small business right here in downtown that has fiber from us running directly to it. And what it does is that fiber is like an interstate highway system. It then connects to other fiber networks that go all over the world.
So like if there was a business in North Canton that wanted to connect to fiber, they could do that, but obviously they would have to do it through AT&T.
There's other competitors too. I can't speak for them, but yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah.
I'd
But
like
I mean,
to say.
if it's your line, it's like you own your own fiber optic line, correct?
Yes.
Or it's not like there's a universal line that everybody's tapping into.
No.
So you decide where to run your line, your fiber optic, and wherever that line is, like let's say it's going down Main Street, then those businesses could tap into your fiber optic line,
Yes.
buying it through AT&T.
Yes.
Whereas just like if there's another competitor, they may have a line on a different street or the same street, and customers can tap into that as well.
Yes.
Okay. And so you're saying with the city or with the county looking to invest in fiber optic lines, you're obviously not encouraging that because you're saying that it's a very expensive outlay and that the technology is changing so quickly that that a city or a county could get left behind with a large investment and maybe not the same value, seeing the same value based on what they invested in that. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying sort of. I don't know if I follow completely. What I'm saying is, if you're going to spend taxpayer dollars to invest in a network when the private sector has already established a network in place, you're kind of duplicating.
They don't compete with it.
Doesn't make sense. Plus, realize, I mean, the recommendation says it's going to be $1 million a year to just to operate that. You can look at other networks around that cost many more millions of dollars every year. The thing is, it's not an automatic. You invest in the network, it's not built and they will come, because it's already built and they are using it now. So my point is a couple things. One is they're not the panacea, in a sense it's not an automatic, people are going to use it. You could talk to Medina. You could look at Chattanooga. I mean, Chattanooga, it's a huge network. That was $100-some million from the federal government, another $280 million to build. So there's a lot of networks out there that have publicly funded that have failed.
Because they don't have enough subscribers to pay for that extra fiber optic connection.
It could be a wide variety of things. It may be the technology didn't keep up to date. Maybe they couldn't be competitive. This is a competitive marketplace. So just because the city is using taxpayer dollars to fund it doesn't mean it's going to be price competitive with the private sector. When you had there was another nonprofit that came in a couple years ago in Stark County, and when they were quoting prices, their prices were higher than existing providers. So there's a lot involved.
Okay, so just one more question, if that's okay. So we have our high school.
Yes.
They had Wi-Fi, and they turned the Wi-Fi off. Because obviously you have the kids streaming all sorts of videos and stuff during the day. So then when the staff and the students would go to use their computers at school, it was just jamming up. There was not enough volume or space of data, so they just turned off the Wi-Fi so that they can have their computer system not crash, right? So you're saying that it's best for like the school in that example where they need higher volumes of data at a lower price, rather than the city connecting or partnering with the school to connect fiber optic to their school, look to a private sector solution.
Yes, I don't know the exact details with the high school, why they're crashing. I can say this from an AT&T perspective. Since 2007, we've seen 150,000% increase in mobile data on our network. I mean, it's just going crazy. I've got two phones with me. Many of you probably have 6, 7, 8 mobile phones in your families now. You're watching more and more, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Netflix, whether it's DirecTV. That all takes up data, and that data it runs on spectrum. Think of it as buckets, and there's limited buckets out there. And the more stuff you throw in, the more space you need. It's different from a regular phone call from your house. Maybe the old-fashioned landline. Maybe if I call you, I'm taking up a certain finite resource. If I send you an email, though, it's different than that. That email could be so big, it could have a picture be bigger, a video bigger, and so forth. So that's why the mobile data is really going crazy. And that may be the issue. Because kids are up on doing videos and streaming.
Right. That makes sense. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And great job having Rockers. That was fantastic.
Yes. All right, very good.
Thank you. coming.
Come by anytime. You know, we could talk a lot about that in the future. I'm sure we are going to talk.
Yes.
Because it is definitely the next utility. You got water, sewer, electric, because this is needed nowadays, right? But the question is, you know, how do we fund it? And when we don't get the price we want, the government thinks they can take over anything and run anything. You could look at examples of the government taking over stuff. That's why you have regulations now, because they can't. You look at post offices, you can look at a lot of things up where they've tried to run and it doesn't work. But it's that pricing thing that people can't get their hands around, that competition between, we need more of them to get the pricing to where we can be competitively, you know, competitive enough to bring the price to where we want it. When you only have one or two or even three, then it's competitive, keeps that price high enough that, that's why you need regulations. Now, once you go deregulations, then you get a lot more and the pricing gets kind of crazy on that. So I think we really need that. I don't know if government is the one to do it, but I do think we need more of them and get our pricing, you know, in line with what we can do in the future. Because this is definitely the next needed utility all the way around.
I just think it's competition. We need more competition everywhere on everything.
I agree.
Now, we don't have to necessarily run it, just need competition.
I think we got to run everything all the time.
All right. We'll move on for your consideration. The special council meeting, special committee of the whole meeting minutes, October 24th, 2016. Council meeting minutes, October 24th, 2016. Committee of the whole meeting minutes, November 7th, 2016. Special council meeting minutes, November 7th, 2016. Mayor's court receipts for October 2016. And financial statement, 2016 month-end reports, October.
Motion to approve as presented.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, at this time, if anyone in the audience wishes to address council, please step forward, state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Linda Petz. I live at 1650 Peachtree in North Canton. And I was pleased to read the article in Monday's repository about Orchard Acres allotment having sewers put into our neighborhood. I'm personally very grateful to council for that. And I think that it's going to help alleviate some health issues that we have in the neighborhood and some potential health issues that we have in the neighborhood. I also want to bring attention to the council that there are some drainage issues in this neighborhood in addition to the need for sanitary sewers. I personally have this problem on my property, and I brought some photographs in to share with this group tonight so that you can actually see some of the damage that we've incurred over the years with this. So I've got two sets of photographs. They're identical, so I'm going to start one on this side and one on this side.
Very good.
Thank you, Linda. Wow.
You know, again, we have a property that does incur standing water with rainstorms. And the water can be as high as 8 inches, and it can last for as long as 2 weeks. We, in the past, have had a private service come out and drain the water for us, and we personally paid $500 to do that on one particular instance because the water was standing at least 2 weeks, and it didn't look like it was going to be absorbed by the soil. This is a health concern. Not only does it attract mosquitoes, we do have small children whose properties abut our property. So it is, if you take a look at the photographs, you know, a significant amount of water, deep water, and it does last at times for many weeks, to be honest. So it's my hope that the council will give some consideration to putting storm sewers in this neighborhood. I am not the only resident in the neighborhood that has problems with standing water, and I just, you know, want to make you aware at this time, you know, that, you know, perhaps if this issue were addressed at the same time, and I know it's a money issue, but perhaps if this could be addressed at the same time that the sanitary sewers are put in, that it perhaps would be less cost-effective or more cost-effective than waiting until this becomes a blown health issue in years to come. So, thank you so much, for your attention to this problem. My goal tonight was just to make you aware that this problem exists there. And again, I do thank you very much, for putting the storm sanitary service in our neighborhood. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. You're welcome.
Linda, are these ours, or do you want these back?
Yes, you may have.
Thank you. All right, moving on to old business. We have a motion and a second to read by title only the second reading of ordinance number 74-16.
Second.
Oh, no, wait.
Oh, no. I'm not motioning.
Oh, well, then, and he'll motion, I'll second him.
You should just state for the record that it needs to clear.
Yeah.
You're abstaining. You want to say
She was being a little bit too enthusiastic about moving this along.
Just for the
As she
record,
always
two council members, Griffith and Easton, are abstaining from discussion.
We have a motion and a second, right?
Griffin,
Abstain.
Keesley,
Abstain.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring, yes, Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
5 yes, 2 abstain, 2 read by title only the second reading of ordinance number 74, 2016, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton upon concurrence of council and the board of control to enter into a contract for administering a self-insurance health insurance program for city employees for the period of December 1st, 2015 through November 30th, 2017.
All right, thank you. Since our chair and vice chair both have to abstain, if there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion to adopt. Second reading.
So moved. Second.
Keesley,
Abstain.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
and Griffin.
Abstain.
5 yes, 2 abstain to adopt the second reading of ordinance number 74, 2016.
Thank you. On to new business. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 75-16.
So moved.
Second.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
and Keesley.
Yes.
7 yes, 2 read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 75, 2016. An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton through the board of control to enter into a contract by and between the city of North Canton and the Stark County Public Defender's Office for the purpose of providing legal counsel to indigent North Canton persons in Canton Municipal Court for a period of 1 year, commencing January 1st, 2017, and ending December 31st, 2017, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you. Chairwoman Ware.
We've talked about this a number of times. It's routine, we do it every single year, so I move to adopt. Are there any further questions?
Second.
Waring? Yes. Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Keesley?
Yes.
And Peters?
Yes.
7 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 75, 2016.
Thank you. Motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 75-16.
So moved. Second. Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Keesley?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
And Waring?
Yes.
7 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 75, 2016.
Thank you. And motion second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 75-16.
So moved.
Second. Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Keesley?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
And Surratt?
Yes.
7 yes to adopt under suspension of rules for ordinance number 75, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 76-16?
So moved.
Second. Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Keesling,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring. Yes. Surratt,
Yes.
and Folds.
Yes.
7 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 76, 2016, an ordinance changing the name of alley numbers 55 and 22 within the corporate limits of the city of North Canton to Aiden Way and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chairman Fontaine.
This is, we talked about this is talking about the no-name alley where people can't find deliveries and, we talked about changing the name, which now we're gonna try to turn into reality, so I move that we approve the first reading on Aiden's Way,
Second.
or Aiden Way.
Griffin,
Yes.
Keesling. Yes. Peters,
Yes.
Waring. Yes. Surratt.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes?
7 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 76, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 76-16?
Second.
Keesling. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Waring. Yes. Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes?
And Griffin.
Yes.
7 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 76, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 76-16?
So moved.
Second.
Peters.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
And Keesling.
Yes.
7 yes to adopt under suspension of the rules for ordinance number 76, 2016.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 77-16?
So moved. Second.
78.
78 is what you're.
What did I say?
was no 77.
We skipped 77?
We just did 76, Aiden Way.
It does jump to 78.
What are you talking about?
It goes 76 to 78 on ordinances, so there is no 77, 2016. Or is there?
This is the unclaimed property. You not seeing that?
It's not on our agenda list, it's not on our.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
That's the phantom ordinance that gives us all time and a half.
Oh, the bicycles.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Ordinance 77 is for the
Bicycles.
Unclaimed property.
bicycles. Unclaimed, it was in, maybe since it's not on this, if you move to add it to the agenda, it's on the one the president has, but.
Yeah.
What is it here?
Yes. Right here.
I would move to amend the agenda to add 77-2016.
Second.
You know, when I double-sided the pages, I tried to be efficient.
Okay, so we got it, now it's on the record, so we can.
All right, so we have a motion and a second
Right.
to amend the agenda to include 77-16. Roll call.
Waring. Yes. Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling. Yes. And Peters.
Yes.
7 yes to amend the agenda to include 77, 2016.
All right, thank you. Now, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 77-16?
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes?
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
And Waring. Yes. 7 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 77, 2016, an ordinance authorizing the chief of police of the city of North Canton to dispose of unclaimed property such as bicycles and bicycle parts in the custody of the police department by donating the unclaimed property to the Salvation Army and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chairman Griffin.
Well, for the record, it is in the packet.
Yeah.
Yes, so go to your packet and look at it.
This is the, clean out the accumulated police locker act, I think is the informal act here. We did discuss it. It's, of course, donating the property that's been unclaimed. Mark still has not found his it's there. If there's no other questions, I will move to approve.
somewhere.
I'll second.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Waring. Yes. And Surratt.
Yes.
7 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 77, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 77-16?
So moved.
Second.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Waring. Yes. Surratt.
Yes.
And Folds.
Yes.
7 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 77, 2016.
Thank you. And a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 77-16.
So moved.
Second.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Waring. Yes. Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
And Fontaine.
Yes.
7 yes to adopt under suspension of rules for ordinance number 77, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 78-16?
So moved.
Second.
Keesling. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Waring. Yes. Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
And Griffin.
Yes.
7 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 78, 2016. An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton to enter into a third amended supported agreement, phase 5, between the city of North Canton and Stark County Parks District to permit the city to participate and provide in its share of the hazard mitigation grant program and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you. Chairman Griffin.
We got the good news that we're getting additional grant dollars, which of course require a slight match, and it is a part of our appropriation that we looked at here. We've had a thorough discussion on it, and everyone seems supportive, so I will move its approval.
Second.
Peters.
Yes.
Waring. Yes. Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
And Keesling. Yes. 7 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 78, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 78-16?
So moved.
Second.
Waring. Yes. Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling. Yes. And Peters.
Yes.
7 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 78, 2016.
Thank you. Motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 78-16.
So moved.
Second.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
And Waring. Yes. 7 yes to adopt under suspension of the rules for ordinance number 78, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 79-16?
So moved.
Second.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Waring. Yes. And Surratt.
Yes.
7 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 79, 2016, an ordinance authorizing the supplemental appropriation of funds of the city of North Canton to appropriate from the unappropriated resources of the general fund to the printing and publications account in the amount of $8,600 for the current expenses during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2016.
Thank you. Chairman Griffin.
I would ask that the clerk say the word unappropriated 10 times fast. Not an easy one. We're going to, of course, do a newsletter, which will cost us $8,600. The good news is, although we're appropriating the money, we're going to get a grant that will offset it. So we're changing the appropriation piece, but no additional dollars, tax dollars that will be spent from us. I would move its approval. Second.
Does that include postage?
That's a fair.
That's everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the rep turnkey, the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay, because that's a big, for that center.
It's going to be malls.
Who's small ones? That's good.
Where are we at with this?
We've moved in a second.
We've seconded? Okay.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Waring. Yes. Surratt.
Yes.
And Folds.
Yes.
7 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 79, 2016,
motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 79-16.
Second.
Yes.
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 7 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 79, 2016.
Thank you. And a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 79-16.
Second.
Yes.
Waring, Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
and Griffith.
Yes.
7 yes to adopt under suspension of rules for ordinance number 79, 2016.
Okay. Where we at? May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 80-16.
So moved. Second.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring, Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
and Keesling. 7 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 80, 2016, an ordinance authorizing the reclassification of funds of the city of North Canton within the various cities' budget line items for the current expenses during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2016.
Thank you. Chairman Griffith.
As you know, we have hired a very capable auditor, a recovering auditor, I think is a classification as our finance director. As such, he wants to make sure that we retain the accolades that the city has received for good financial responsibility. And part of that is making sure that the appropriations are cleaned up at the end of the day. So effectively, what we're doing with 80-2016 is to say, we might have spent a little money out of this fund, and at the end of the day, it probably looks better if it comes out of this fund. So we're not making any additional appropriations, we're simply moving dollars to where they were doing. So we kind of are cleaning up the checkbook. Is that a fair assessment? Oversimplification, no doubt, but essentially that's what we're doing here too. So no additional expenditures, just a cleaning up so that the books look good at the end of the year. If there aren't any additional questions, I will move its approval.
Second.
It's clear.
Waring, Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Keesling, and Peters.
Yes.
7 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 80, 2016.
May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 80-16.
So moved.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Keesling, Peters,
Yes.
and Waring. 7 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 80, 2016.
Thank you. A motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 80-16.
So moved.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Keesling, Peters,
Yes.
Waring, and Surratt.
Yes.
7 yes to adopt under suspension of rules for ordinance number 80, 2016.
Thank you. Reports, Member Fund.
All right, 2 quick things. I just want everybody to know the catch basins. Now, this is huge, honestly. There's like approximately 3,000 catch basins, and that's where the water runs down the street, and you got the iron grate, and then now we have these cement cast things, right? They're big enough to put 2 or 3 people inside of them. So they did 175 of them last year. Now remember, we have 3,000 in the city. 175 approximately last year. So far this year, 120. That's 295 catch basins. Thanks to Mike, the engineer, because like we always call it out, thanks to you guys too, for calling it out, and they mark them and they get on it. Some of them are the street program. A lot of them are the city workers. You know, they go out there and work on it. It's like a 3-day process to do each one of those. So I want to say thanks for the good work, because those are infrastructure things that are helping with our flooding, because instead of the old brick catch basins in a salty way of the grout, if you notice, it washes not only, helps the flooding, but the new ones, it doesn't erode underneath the sidewalks, underneath the curb and gutter and the roads, because a is, we've been talking, several of us, about the roads. You know, could we get an earlier start next year? And I talked to Engineer Benikas, and we were talking about seeing if everybody in their own jurisdiction could check out your streets and see what we need to get on the list for next year, and if we could get them by the end of the year. Jim said that he is going to really, you know, see what we can do about getting it early for next year. You know, see if we can get it done maybe instead of the end of the year, maybe in late spring, early summer this year. So if you guys can put it on your list, try to get your list in by 12/31, you can get it to me, I'll get it to Jim.
Is that rating again?
The what?
The rating, street rating, because some of them should be off, right? So certain ones are going to be top
Some
of
of
each
them
box.
think it's done
Right.
this year.
We haven't updated that, we just use that as a guide from before.
But if you
Yeah,
drive
I think it's a good guide.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you drive around by the end of the year and get us the list that they look like they are going to need it, get it to me, because more than likely it's not on the list.
Jim, did they all get done this year? I know 7th Street was a CDBG grant. Now,
Right.
obviously, we weren't ready to go with it, so it'll come back in next year's budget. I just saw that in there, but was there any other streets that did not get done that we felt we were needed?
There are that are on the list that will carry over to next year. One is Claremont. They didn't get started.
Can you send that to all of us so that we know what's
Yeah,
coming back in everybody's wards and move forward?
sure.
Yeah, this way.
The ones that didn't get done.
We'll
Yeah.
work on getting it done a little earlier this year.
So was there anything else in this with grants or, other than the one project we've been working on that we've done some engineering on this year,
Right.
right? Another question I had, that's all right. When did we switch over to the precast storm sewers? Was it, are those installed on North Main? Is that a recent project? Is it something that
Right. I believe about
was there a year?
5 years or more.
5 years ago, we started putting precast in, even with the new curb and gutter projects?
Correct. In the curb and gutter projects, we've probably been doing the precast for 10 years or
10
more.
years.
As far as when our in-house crews are going out and
Okay.
rehabbing, that's probably been 5 to 6 years.
Okay, so Donner was done a couple of years ago, that was precast.
Correct.
And if we do Parkview, that'll be pre, so that's good to know, you're not gonna have to replace them all.
These are good for what, Jim? Like 40, 50 years? Or what is it?
Until I retire.
So I talked to Battershaw.
Which could be
He
sooner.
That's no guarantee. Mike Battershaw.
It could be a yearly thing.
What they're doing is they're replacing the steel too,
Right.
iron.
Right.
The whole thing is new, so, I mean, they should last
And the other point
way
is,
beyond our
we're
supply.
using BTUs, we're not just over salting, we're known for having the best winter streets available when there is a snowstorm.
This is huge, it's like almost 300, can you imagine?
Yeah.
300, just watch them do a project, you'll see it's huge.
So Jim, how many, he said we had 3,000 in the city storing drains, I don't know who goes out and counts those.
Well, I asked Mike Battershaw, he said we had approximately 3,000.
Okay, so in general, what percent do you think we have replaced those with the concrete casts? Do you have a ballpark?
Oh,
10% in the last 2 years.
I'd say at least 1,000
Yeah.
Okay, so a third then,
since I've been here.
30.33%.
I mean, and it's going to help our flooding too.
Okay, just kind of wonder what we have ahead of us, is my question, that's where I said it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good discussion. Okay.
Well, fair. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Dominic.
Member Ware?
So a few weeks ago, I was able to tour IRG, who were the company, and then like Dominic and Gary came, Tim came, and Mark came, and we did it with a group of young professionals, the Spotlight Group from Leadership Star County, and they had 3 of their associates tour with us, and it was amazing, and to think what the city is going to have across the street, and really numbers, but it was really impressive, so thank you. And I'm thrilled that we have developers like that in our town.
Member Keys.
Griffith. Just a quick thanks to Laura again. I'm looking forward to the budget process this year. That's all.
Just to expand on her program, her tour, very well done, by the way, Stephanie and her leadership. And we also are having, talking with Brent Brenniker, he wants to set another one up for us. And he's looking right now, maybe the 30th. You've got to look at the fact that it gets dark, so it has to be, 3 o'clock-ish. It can't be too late.
Yeah.
So I want you to keep that in mind. I'll let you know. I've been talking back and forth with him. I know several people in the community, like President Gisone, would like, there are a couple of people that would like to,
That's the chamber and hall.
would like to go. And so I'll keep that, going, see where we go with that. But it was very impressive for the future. And I'm really looking forward to that. The other thing, Dave and I did meet with President Gisone, the Walsh folks, last week, I believe it was, and we had a very good discussion about, where the city and Walsh are collaborating. We have some big deals going on out there with the University District, and Jim's heading that up. And we just had to get things, our communication, because with any big organizations, communication is so important. And so just to make sure that we're moving forward with collaborative efforts and let everybody know what the right hand's doing, left hand's doing. We met with them, and it was a very good meeting. And I think we're on a real good path to kind of helping that side of town out. Walsh is either our biggest employer or our biggest income tax in the city, 1 or 2 kind of thing. So it's good to have those discussions with them. So it was a very good meeting with that, and I can elaborate later on if you have any questions on that meeting. That's it.
Good stuff. Wonderful.
No report.
All right, couple things. Some house cleaning measures. For next week, I need a roll call vote. Motion a second to move the council meeting from the 28th into a special council meeting next Monday, the 21st. The reason being is we have the 3rd reading of the insurance legislation. We have some folks that are going to be out of town. And with 2 of us abstaining, we're not going to have enough votes for the 3rd reading. And we need to get it done before December 1st. So we have a motion and a second to move council meeting from the 28th and make it a special council meeting on the 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Keesley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Surratt,
Yes.
and Folds.
Yes.
7 yes to have a special council meeting Monday, November 21st, and forego Monday, November 28th.
Correct.
Same time? 7.
No, we're gonna, we can do that before. We could do it before. Let's do it at 7. We're just gonna be one, or a few pieces of legislation, yeah.
Okay, 7
Yeah,
p.m.
we'll do it right, so we'll start right at 7. Okay, and also, Mr. Eastman, who read his essay today, he's headed to Washington DC, and as we were over there talking with the family, the mayor was over there as well, and that might not be a bad idea, maybe to call Congressman Renacci and let him know that Mr. Eastman is on our way over there, and maybe possibly he can pop in and say hello and recognize and mention to Congressman Renacci's office that he can preview the reading of the essay by going to northcantonohio.gov and hitting the YouTube button.
That is a great idea.
So, okay, very good. Well, that's it for me, Director of Law.
No shortage of legal matters involving the city, but today, yes, it's, make note that the community reinvestment area appeals we have received today, the response from the developer to those appeals, and so there'll be a time frame for these folks that had appealed. They get to respond to that, and then we'll set up a date to have a hearing to resolve those appeals. But other than that, as I said, there's no shortage of things that arise in the legal department, but I thought it was important to note this will be the first appeal that we've had for that housing council, and so that will probably be scheduled beginning of January, maybe
Mid-January. I think we're looking at probably the third Wednesday of January. I think it's the 18th. That's kind of what we've tentatively discussed with the chair.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, Director of Finance.
No report.
Okay. Director of Administration.
Just thanks for the kind words on the catch basins. You know, we were able to attack them better the last couple of years. One, our supervisors come up with a little better plan and projects. And then the second thing was you provided money the last couple of years to go after them, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, we do too, Glenn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I'd also like to, you know, as we were going through the budget this year and looking at where we're at today and where we were at back in 2008, 2009, 2010, you know, there was really not that much work that I had to do on this budget for two reasons. Number one, it's really clear that when you have excellent personnel in the city, you know, we had, said this countless times, we had 116 employees, we're down to 91, and now we're about 92, 93, 94. But when you have knowledgeable and experienced employees in key positions, and then you bring them together, working together, which really that's Mike's greatest strength. Mike Grimes' greatest strength is because he's able to identify what the needs are of the city and getting everybody to work in alignment. And he does that through his staff meetings every week. And this is something that has not happened overnight. Like our fire and EMS department, they were two separate departments. They were two separate chiefs. And now they're one department. They're all integrated, which is, I mean, that didn't happen 15 years ago. I mean, some of the people in the department didn't really even interact or speak with one another. And now you have people that we're hiring that are fire medics and inspectors. And in one case, he's also a commissioned police officer. And then you can see when you have a swearing-in ceremony, that's all fire and EMS and police. Yeah, just to honor that one individual, which historically we didn't see that type of support. You know, formally, when they're taking time out of their, you know, their schedule, personal schedule to come up or work. So really, I'd like to recognize Mike for, and I've told this to him a number of times, but it's really, you've just seen it happen over, what, 5 years since you've been the administrator, getting everybody to work together. And also, it's due to the people that you hire. I mean, you can have one person if they have, like you can see in Laura's presentation. I mean, what you know, you don't even know what to say. It's like amazing, you know. It just goes to show you have a lot of experience, and when you put it together, to you, it doesn't seem like a significant change. To us, this is like, wow, we can understand this in layman's terms. The same thing with Tim. You know, with all the legal matters that we have going on, God knows that's like, you know, doesn't stop. But then on his day off, he comes to the veterans event, being a veteran himself, but still, and bringing this young man in to read the speech. You know, I didn't know that he was going to read the speech until tonight. I thought it was a great idea. And then also Gary, who's now working in our permits department. I mean, it's just everything is taken to a whole new level because we have talented, quality people. Not that we didn't before, but it's, you know, times are changing very quickly. That's why I'm glad that we have Jim back from retirement too. Yeah. And, you know, another 15 years from Jim, and I think we'll be set.
50, big boy.
Turn over all the roads. I think we'll be okay.
I'll spend all your money.
Replacing those catch basins.
But see, that's another thing, like the catch basins, you know, I was thinking about that plan to replace the catch basins. I'm thinking, my gosh, do we have 1,000 replaced already? It seemed like it was just yesterday we were talking about, hey, maybe we could use precast instead of the brick. And now we've got over 1,000 replaced, but it was like 75 to 100 each year. or more are now 125, 150. The other area too is we had the Mayor's Cup this weekend. And that's where Walsh and Malone get together. The men's basketball team plays each other. And then, you know, if Walsh wins, then the mayor of Canton will have to give the trophy to North Canton's mayor, and vice versa. And so I was not able to attend this this game this year. And so normally I would ask Mike, or Jim, and you know, somebody to fill in for me. And I was having a hard time. I had called some of our council members. It's like, but it just seemed like it was a tough weekend, you know, because it's always a nice event. So we had Shanna, who graduated from, who's our assistant finance director, and also Laura, who graduated from Malone. They stood in for us, and which I greatly appreciate. But I think that just goes to show you that when you hire good people and they have a desire to serve the community, it makes a huge difference. And then the fact that, you know, you have enough confidence to say, oh yeah, just show up here at this time and, you know, recognize both teams and, you know, just able to handle it without any question. So I really want to thank the council for supporting hiring good people and paying them, because it really, I mean, especially for those of you who've been around for years, it's like, I mean, it's such a huge difference because, you know, you got good quality people. So that's all I'd like to say. Jim? Speaking of quality people?
No report.
Director Development.
Nothing.
Madam Clerk?
I don't have a report either tonight.
How about that? Well, thank you. Nothing else coming before council. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Adjourn. All right. Gotcha. All right, those were the only two then.